Hello world, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be recreating an awards site. Basically I'm going to be recreating this beautiful website called I Killed a Cactus, and I'm just going to be doing it in Webflow. Now I did this because I got a couple comments, and by couple I mean one, asking me to show give you guys a tutorial on how to recreate, well, an awards website. So this is what I found. I went looking, and this one really struck with me because, you know, I've killed a cactus before too. Yeah, so let's just get right into it. Before we actually get to building this specific website, what I want to do is just kind of scroll through what I have here, and I'll show you guys basically what I've built. Okay, so the first thing is we come to this hero section, and as you kind of move your cursor, you can see that these two plants in the front, move, and that's about the interaction that we have for this. But trust me, it gets way more exciting. So as I scroll now, we have this text, right? And then as you keep scrolling, we get this really nice Lottie animation that pops up from below, right? And then as you keep scrolling, this text appears, and then more of these really cool Lottie animations, right? Kind of goes throughout this entire website. There's a lot of Lottie, there's a great color scheme, and as we just keep going, again, another Lottie, and this really nice gradient that kind of appears again as you keep scrolling. So first we get this gradient in the top left-ish, right? And then as you scroll, it appears at the top, and then finally it appears at the right. And then as you keep scrolling, this kind of, again, another image comes up. Mist often, as this kind of mist appears, descends on this image, right? Keep scrolling, and then we're left with this section, which, I'll take my cursor out just for a second, right? And then as you hover on these, we get this really nice hover item interaction, where this, with this image scales, and also this text. Okay, so that's about it for this website. If I just scroll back up, it's filled with so many really cool interactions, and the color scheme and the Lottie animations really help make it what it is. So that's what I'm going to be building today. Yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into it. Okay, so the first thing that I want to build is this hero section. So let me just go back to my demo here. Okay, so we have this small piece of text up in the top right, and then we have this one in the bottom left, top left, I don't know okay, top left and in the bottom left, right? And then we have these images, right, that are kind of stacked on top of each other, and as you kind of hover, they move around. There's also a very slight gradient. It kind of only shows up till here, but it is there, and this also kind of adds to that depth effect that we're going for. Okay, so let's go back here, and okay. So first thing I'm going to do is grab this body element here. I'm going to change the background color that it has. So I'm going to go to the style panel, and okay, background color of B8CAA. Okay. So now this color, we're not necessarily using this in this specific section. Like, this isn't going to show up in the background of this section of our website, but that's pretty much, this background color is the same for our entire website. So this I kind of want to keep just because I don't want to add that same background color to every section after this one. Okay, so that's that. Now, the next thing that I want to do is drag in a div. Okay, just going to call this hero. Width of 100% and a height of 100 VH. That just means that it's going to take up 100% of the screen's height, okay? The viewport height. And then what I want to do is change the background color, obviously for this one, because it's not that green. It's kind of this off-whitish, off-gray, yeah, off-whitish, grayish color. That's going to be your background here. But then, if you go back, again, I mentioned the gradient here, so we're going to add that too. So just go to Image and Gradient, I'm gonna select this last one here, or this third one here, called the radial gradient. And mine is, again, all the way at the top right, so it's not like it's not the center of attention. So for that to work, what I'm just gonna do, I'm just gonna hit position and hit top right, just like that. So it's positioned all the way there. And then even after that, I want to drag the slider up to only go up to about 50%. And then I'm going to change the color here, bring it to black, and then make it transparent. Okay, so that's pretty much where I want this to end. And also I'm going to figure out this neon greenish color. So that's this color. It's going to go from this to transparent, and I'm actually going to adjust it, maybe make it even smaller, maybe 25%, because I really I just want it to be barely visible. Okay, I'll make it 30. Okay, there, perfect. Okay, so that's our hero. The next thing that I want to do is get our lovely background images in. So drag another div. I'm going to call this hero background. This is going to take up pretty much the entire thing, so with 100, a height of 100, right? And it's going to have a background image. So I already have my images selected here, so image 1 right there, and I'm going to hit cover and just align it to the top like that. Yep, like that. Sorry, align it to the center and to the right like that. I don't think it really matters. Yep, just do that. And I want it to be obviously not repeating, so like that. Okay, so that is our background. Now I'm just going to make a couple more of these. But what happens is that it kind of repeats like this, right? So to get them all to kind of stack on top of each other, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit position absolute. Okay, so now that's because there's a bit of a shadow on that image. That's why it looks so bad. So we're just going to change the images around. So I'm going to grab our second one here, give it a combo class of 2. So it's going to have the same styles as the first one. I'm just going to change this background image. So image 2. Again, hit cover. Same thing like that. Okay, that's it. That's all we're gonna do for all of them. Just give them a different combo class to number 3. Get rid of that image and cover, and then hit this like that. And then finally our last one here, number 4. Delete that, grab our final one, final image, cover, and then just like that. Okay. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is to get our text in. So here's how we're going to do that. I'm just going to grab another div, call this hero text. This is going to be, again, 100%, 100%. And it's going to have flexbox attached to it, and we're going to align it vertically. So flex direction, so the direction to be vertical. And I'm just going to align it to the left, because if you notice, it's all the way to the left, right? And then what I'm going to do is just grab a paragraph element, and I'm going to call this paragraph element paragraph small. Now, the reason I'm not naming it something like hero paragraph small, right, is because we're going to really be reusing a bunch of these kinds of text like over and over in our entire website. So I don't want to have to give it the same classes again when I could just as easily reuse this, and that way if I maybe change the font size on one of them, the font size changes on all instances of the same class. So I'm just going to set position relative, because as you can see, okay, let me go back just to show you what happened. It's kind of being covered by all of these hero backgrounds. I'm going to hit position relative, and just to really make sure that it always stays on top, I'm going to give it a Z index of 1000, because that's always going to be on top. Okay, so that's perfect, just like that. I'm going to change the text in here. Okay, just copy and paste. And again, I'm gonna hit enter on this 4 part, just because that's where the text kind of breaks. Okay, so the first thing, again, change the font. So this font is built into Webflow. It's called EXO. I'm just gonna give it a color of white. And what I recently discovered, and I'm gonna be doing in, I think, all of my Webflow videos going on, This is kind of good practice, but instead of using pixels, what I want to use this time is called VW, or viewport width. And that's kind of so if I do one viewport width, right? How this works is that it's basically dynamically changing the size of the font based on how much the width of the screen, okay? So if I give it a size of maybe 50 VW, right? That's way too big. You can't even see that. Okay, about 10. Even smaller, 4. Okay. And because you can't really understand what that's saying, I'm going to increase the height as well. So 4 VW. Basically, it's taking this viewport width, right? And it's calculating how much for viewport width, so like 4% of the width of our screen, and it's applying that as the font size. So now based on my basically the size of my screen, it's going to change. So if I go to tablet mode, it's going to dynamically change, and it's not going to stay the same every time. So this is really good for building responsive websites, which we're not going to do today, but it is still good practice. Okay, so that's that. It's not going to be 4 VW because, again, it's paragraph small. So I'm just going to make it 0.9 VW, and I'll give it a height that's not 4 VW, maybe 1.1. And because it's kind of being pushed away all into that corner, what I want to do is give it some margin. So I'm going to give it 2 VW of margin. Again, I'm just going to keep using a VW over and over during this rebuild, because I kind of want to, again, emphasize the idea of kind of having these dynamic units. Okay, so yep, that works. Now the next thing that I want to do is this kind of big giant heading, right? So for that, just going to grab a heading. And this heading is going to have a class of hero heading, only because we're literally never going to use this this big of a heading in the rest of our site anyways, so that's why I'm not giving it something like heading 1, for example. So I'm going to hit position relative again on the top, and then I'm just going to scroll down. Sorry, not hit flow clear. This is going to have a font of Times New Roman. Okay, just change the color to be white. And I'm going to change this font weight to be normal. And of course, I'm going to change the text now, the size of the text. It's going to be 23 VW. And that is really big. So we also have to give it a height appropriately. So 15 VW of height. And this text, I can type that out. I killed a cactus. Very relatable. Okay, so just going to grab this hero text again, because I kind of want this one to be positioned all the way at the top and this one to be positioned at the bottom. So I'm going to grab my hero text, and in my flex settings, I'm going to just hit space between. Okay, and then I want to grab this hero heading, and kind of like how I gave this some margin at the left and the top, I believe, I'm going to do the same thing to this one. So I'll give it 2 VW of margin to the left and 2 VW of margin at the bottom. Okay. Okay. What else? I feel like I'm forgetting. Oh, of course. Okay, so grab the hero heading, and this step is not really that essential, but it looks better. So if we go to more type options, we find this letter spacing thing, which if we make it really small, so like -20 pixels, the letters kind of get pushed next to each other, like very closely. But I'm gonna make it a little bit subtle, so like 10 pixels, like that. Okay, this looks good. Now if we hit preview, you can see that the text obviously changes size, it gets bigger, so does this text, and that's exactly what we want. Now, of course, the thing to do is the hover interaction. So for this hover interaction to kind of properly work, we have to grab the images that we want to be moving. So let me go back. I think it's this one and this one. Let's see if we can try to find that. So that's, yep, so that's hero background 4. And it's also hero background 3. Okay, so these are our 2 images that we're going to be moving. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to grab my hero element, go to the interactions panel, make one for mouse move over, not mouse hover, because mouse hover just triggers an interaction. But what we want to happen is that depending on where your cursor is at this kind of your screen width or your screen height, we want to change the position of the images. So we want to hit mouse move over, and I'm going to place mouse animation. I'm going to call this hero mouse over. Okay, so I'm going to grab this hero background, and at 0%, I kind of want it to be moved, let's say 5 VW, okay? And then at 100%, I want it to be moved negative 5 VW. So pushed all the way here. Now we're going to do the same thing for this one. So move, change it up, maybe a little bit like 2 VW, and then negative 3 VW. You can basically spend forever trying to mess with this and get it right. So the reason I changed that is because when we go to negative 3 VW, the problem is that like it looks like it's been cut off and it looks kind of weird. I don't like the way that looks, so I'm just gonna maybe make it 1. Okay. Now let's test that out and see how that works. Okay, that's fine. Okay. That looks pretty good to me. What I want to do is I want to add some smoothing though, because that seems like it's moving too fast. Maybe let me hit preview and see, because it's usually better that way. Yeah, this is going way too fast. I'm gonna hit maybe make it 75%, because if you do it to 100%, it takes literally forever to load and it gets really weird. So let's not do that. Okay. There. Okay, this is more smoother. Yeah, I think I like this. Maybe, yeah, I'm gonna change that. Maybe not 6. What did I make 6? That's fine actually. I'm just gonna make that 3 VW, and then this one will be negative 3. Okay, now let's see. Yeah, they should be moving a bit differently. Maybe negative 5. Yeah, okay, I like this. This is good. Okay, save. You can obviously mess with these, change the easing settings and mess with the smoothing and stuff like that. But this is how I'm going to leave it for now. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the hero section. Now the next section that we're going to be building is this kind of plant intro where as you scroll, this plant appears and we get this really nice animation. So that's where we're going to be building in this section. So I'm just going to switch back, and okay, I am going to grab a div, call this div intro, and it's going to have a width of 100% and a height of 500 VH, which will make sense in just a minute. Trust me. Okay. It's going to have a flexbox, and it's going to be justified. So it's going to be align center and then justified to the top. Okay. And okay, that's that. Next up, we're going to drag in another div, and we're going to call this animation plant text. And this is a kind of a div that we're going to be reusing a lot because we're going to be housing all of our text for all of our animations inside of this, because the way the text is centered in most of these animations is pretty much the same. So yep, we're going to just be reusing this. Okay, so I'm going to grab this animation plant text. It's going to have a width of 100% and a height of 100 VH. It's going to be set to flex, vertical, and then center aligned. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot. So we're going to go back to our intro here, and I'm going to give it some padding at the top, maybe 10 VH of padding. Okay. So grab this animation plant text again, and what I'm going to do is, okay, let me just put something inside of here. Maybe I'll give this a different background color just to illustrate my point. Okay, it's very bad background color, and it does not suit with the theme at all, but just bear with me. Okay, so if you go back, our intro here, it has a height of 500 VH, right? So basically, as we keep scrolling, you can see that this kind of red div, it just disappears, right? But that's not what we want to happen. We want our text, so let me go back. We want our text to kind of stick where it is, and we want everything else to keep moving, right? Now, essentially, you might ask the question, why does it even need to be 500 VH, right? Well, what we're trying to build is we're trying to build a scroll animation, right? And the thing with the scroll animation is that we need space for it to scroll, right? If it was just 100 VH and we brought the Lottie animations in from the bottom, we would technically still be getting the Lottie animation up, right? But it wouldn't happen how we want it to happen. It wouldn't like it would, as you keep scrolling, it would kind of, the section would disappear. But when we have something like a height of 500 VH, as we're scrolling through, we want this text to stick, right? So we're going to set that to be position sticky, and we're going to hit 0. What this means is that even if like this keeps moving, as you can see, so we're entering this area of this green div. This is the top, this is our padding, this 10 VH padding, okay? And this is our plant text. So now let's say that as I keep scrolling, you can see that it just sticks. Like, it does not move, it just sticks to where it is, right? And then when we're finally done, let me just drag in like a filler div just to show you guys. So I'll drag this out. Okay. I'll drag this out of this intro, and I'll call this just filler. And it's gonna have a background of a blue. Okay, just blue. And it's gonna have, this is nothing to do with anything. It's just for kind of showing you guys how this actually works. Okay, so let me keep scrolling. Right, this intro has a height of 500 VH, right? So as I keep scrolling, this kind of filler is just gonna stick. This doesn't mean that this plant text takes up the entire space, because it doesn't. It only takes up 100 VH, right? But what's happening is that it's just sticking. Like, it's sticking to the container, and as we're moving that container, this plant text is kind of moving with it, and it's not moving out of like its 100 VH thing. So when we finally reach the end of this container, you can see that, you know, like this plant text stuck all the way to the bottom of our intro div, okay? I'm gonna get rid of these terrible colors, so just make that transparent again. Yep, transparent again. Okay, perfect. Okay. And let me go back and actually put some stuff inside of here. So in our plain text, first thing we're going to drag in is our heading. And again, this is going to be a heading that we reuse a lot, so I'm just going to call it heading 1. And it's going to have, again, Times New Roman, if I can find it. Okay, normal, right? It's going to be white, and it's going to have 13 VW. Again, like I mentioned last time, we're going to be using a lot of VW, dynamic units, right? So 13 VW, height and a size of 13 VW. Perfect. What does that text say? This is a plant. Got it. And to kind of make just this plant italicized, I'm just going to highlight it, right? And I'm going to hit this kind of style icon, wrap with span, and I'm just going to give it a class of heading 1 span. Okay. And we're just going to hit italicize. Perfect. So that's our text. Okay. Now the next thing that we want to do, I'm going to just close up this animation plant text. And what I want to do is grab another piece of text, another div. I'm going crazy. Okay. Another div, and this div is going to be called just intro text. Okay. Intro text. And this is going to be set to flex, vertical, and then position sticky. It's going to have some margin at the top, maybe 40 VH of margin at the top. Yeah, 40 VH of margin. And then in the sticky position, I'm going to give it 40 VH at the bottom as well. So it's kind of in the middle, but not really. Okay, and then inside of here, I'm going to grab a heading. And for this heading, I'm going to select, where is it? Okay, for this heading, I'm going to select it to be heading 3, okay? Because it's not as important as this one right here, but it's not, like a paragraph either. So heading 3, it's going to, should probably give it a class, okay? Heading 3, change the font style, and it's going to be 5 VW, not bold either, by 5 VW. You can't really see what that is, but just gonna keep scrolling. I don't even know what this text says. Consider these variables to help your plant survive and thrive. Apparently that does not want to paste. Okay, just get that. I can type the rest. Okay, there, it did paste. Okay. Right. Okay. first thing I'm going to do is grab this kind of normal text, right? It has a class of heading 3, right? And we're going to grab this button, survive here, and it already has our italicized thing, but I'm just going to give it a class. So heading 3 span, okay? And for the color, I'm just going to change the color to this kind of dark white, dark green, dark white. Okay, I'm going to grab this bold text here as well. I'm going to call this bold text subscript, and it's going to be really small, so 1 VW, and it's going to have the same color, and it's not going to be Times New Roman, it's going to be XO, which we had before, and it's not going to be bold either. I think I want it to be 500 medium. Yep. Okay, so that's this text, okay? Okay, so that's it for our text thing. So I'm gonna grab this intro text and I'm gonna set it to be give it an opacity of 0, just because we're gonna animate it kind of fading in later on. As you kind of see here, it kind of fades in like that. Okay, now, possibly our more important part, I'm gonna get our Lottie, okay? So I'm gonna call this intro Lottie. Did I spell that? I did not spell that right. Okay, intro Lottie wrapper. This is going to have a width of 40 VW, and it's going to have a position of sticky. And all I want to do is just grab my Lottie. If I can, I don't even know which one that is. Oh, that's in images. Never mind. Okay, right here. I believe that's the one, and I'm just going to plop it right into that one, like that. Perfect. Now, actually, I'm noticing this now, but if you kind of click on this intro text, and as you kind of keep going and this Lottie appears, the intro text kind of gets pushed up and out of it gets pushed up all the way to the top here, and I really don't want that. So I'm going to grab it. For position sticky 0, I really want to make it 40 VH at the top, okay? So it stays like that, sticks where it's supposed to be. But then we also don't want our Lottie to disappear, and I know why that's happening. It's because if you set position sticky and you don't hit any of these elements at the top, so you don't hit, for example, 0 is the most easiest one. That just means it's going to stick to the top of the container. So there's 0 space between the top of this container and the Lottie, right? If we don't set a value like that, it's actually not going to work, and I kind of forgot to do that. Okay, so that's it. Now what we need to do is the animation. Okay. So I'm going to grab this intro, and I'm going to go to my interactions panel, and I'm going to go while scrolling in view. Call this intro scrolling in view. Okay. Now, what's the first thing that I want to do? The first thing that I want to do is to animate this Lottie coming in, and I want it to kind of do its Lottie thing, which is to animate. That makes no sense, which is to kind of play the animation, right? But I want that animation to kind of be controlled based on our scrolling. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab it, and so grab the Lottie itself, not the Lottie wrapper. So the Lottie itself, and we're going to hit Lottie. And okay, so at 15%, that's the keyframe that we want to go on. The Lottie is going to be at 0, so it's not even starting to animate yet. Then, at maybe 35%, it's at 80%. So it's not at its full kind of, like it's not fully done animating, but it's almost there, okay? And then, finally, all the way at 70%, I want, okay, no, never mind. I take that back, okay. At 35%, I want it to be like this, right? And then all the way at 70%, if I add another keyframe for Lottie, it's going to be back all the way to 0. So this is how I want that to animate. So if I just scroll back up, that's how I want it to start doing its animation, right? I want it to keep animating, and then I kind of want it to go back to its original state. Okay. So that's our Lottie animation. The next thing that I want to do is this text, right? This text, it kind of fades out when this comes up. So I'm going to grab that animation plant text, and at about 30%, I would say, I'm just going to lower the opacity all the way down to 100, sorry. keep the opacity there, and then at 35% is where we're going to lower it down. Okay. The next thing that I want to do is get our Lottie wrapper, and this is when that Lottie wrapper kind of starts to move, and then it scales up to be bigger. So grab the Lottie wrapper, and at 50%, I'll say, yeah, 50, I want it to, this is just the starting part of our animation, so we're just going to have it move 0 VW, so that, and it's going to also be scaled, not rotate, sorry, it's also going to be scaled to 1. And then at 60%, I'm going to grab this intro text, and I want this thing right here to also start animating in. So I'm going to grab that, and at 60%, we want that to also be moved. So I want it to be moved 10 VW, just so we can have that effect that it's kind of coming out from the plant. But it's not really, we're just, simulating that. And then I also want the opacity to be 0. Now, when we reach 70%, everything happens. So we're going to grab this intro Lottie, right? And we're going to, what are we going to do? Okay, we're going to move it 20 VW, so it's all the way to the right here, and then we're going to grab this scale, right, and we're just going to scale it up to 1.3. okay, so it's just a little bit bigger, and then we grab our intro text, and we're going to move this away from that, so I'm going to move it to negative 20 VW, so it's away from that text and it's not being covered up, right? Finally, we're going to grab our opacity and then make it all the way to 100. Now, if we try to do that, let's hit live preview. Let's go all the way to the start and see what happens. So, yep, it animates out. This Lottie comes up. It scales. And perfect. Okay, that blue caught me off guard. Okay, we will fix that later. That's just for filler. That won't actually happen. Okay, so that's it for this section. This kind of Lottie animation, and moving on. Our next section, if I scroll down, just has this Lottie that is not moving based on any other interaction. It's just moving by itself. I'm not hovering, or I'm not scrolling, but it's just moving. And then we have this text that fades in and then fades out. And then this Lottie moves over, and then this other text and this gauge Lottie fades in. And this gauge Lottie kind of increases and reaches the full capacity, and that's about it. And that's about it for this section. So let's just get right into building it. I'm going to first drag in a div. I'm gonna call this location. Give it a width of 100% and a height of 500 VH, just like we did with the previous section. And I kind of explained while I'm building that previous section why I need to do that. I'm gonna give it 10 VH of padding at the top, 10 at the bottom. Just set flex, vertical, center aligned, and then justify to the top as it is right now. Okay. Then what I want to do is to go back into my intro here and just copy this animation plant text, right? Just copy that. And it's just, I'm not going to change anything with that. I'm just going to leave it how it is. Just grab that, and I'm just going to change what this heading says to what it says here, location. Just like that. That's all I'm changing with this one. But instead of sort of placing it, and that's all I'm going to do for that. Next thing that I want to do is drag in a div inside of this, which I hadn't done in the previous section, but this is just going to be called, see if I can get sorry, location Lottie wrapper. And the reason that I'm putting this inside of this animation plant text is because if you notice this Lottie, it never like needs to be in it, like pulled up from the bottom. Like it never needs to be animated in. It's just kind of always there. So we want it to also be set to position sticky, which is why I'm just gonna place it inside of this div. So yep, location Lottie wrapper. It's gonna have similar settings to the one previously, so a width of 40 VW, and it's gonna have positioned absolutely, just like that. And then I also want to give it a really high Z index, just because we want it to kind of be above over everything else. As you can see, it's above the text, and then here it's above this, so yep. Now I'm gonna actually insert the Lottie, so if I can find it, right there. Okay. Okay, perfect. The next thing that I want to do is kind of do this gauge part, the one with the Lottie, and then also this text over here that fades in. So for that, I am just going to close this out, grab another div, and this is going to be outside of the animation plant text. Sorry, okay, outside of the animation plant text. It's going to be called gauge. It's going to be set to flex horizontal and center aligned, justified in the middle as well. It's going to have a width of 100% and a height of 100 VH, and it's going to be set to position sticky to 0, like that. And the opacity, which we will change in a second actually, so I'm just going to leave that just because we want to be able to see it now, but then later on we'll go and reduce the opacity all the way down to 0. So I'm going to grab another div, and this is going to be called gauge Lottie wrapper. This is going to have a width of 60%, and it's also going to that's about it. Yeah, never mind, it's not going to be anything else. Just going to drag in that animation right there, just like that. And okay, that looks about right. Also, I want to set this gauge Lottie wrapper, as you can see here, it's above the Lottie animation in the background. So I just want to grab that and set it to position relative, and then give it a higher Z index. What did I give this one? Not sure. 800. Let's give this something else, like 1,000. No, not that. Yeah, okay, 1,000 is good. Then we want the text that's to the side, so I'm gonna grab another div, call this gauge text, give it a width of 40%, give it a height, or give it a max width of 500 pixels. And inside of here, I'm going to drag in another div, and I'm going to give it a class of paragraph small, but then I'm going to hit duplicate, and instead I'm going to call this paragraph big. I'm just going to change some of the sizes here, so 2.7 VW instead, and yeah, that's a lot of text though. Just going to copy that. Okay. The next thing that I want to do is just change the color of that, because you can see that has a different color, and I'm going to make this a little bit lighter. Maybe, yeah, I'm gonna make it 300, give it a font weight of 300. Gonna grab these, I'm gonna hit the span button again, call this paragraph paragraph big, and then paragraph, what is wrong with me? Okay, paragraph big span. And I'm just gonna change the color to this darker shade of green. Okay. Now, I'm gonna grab this again and the gauge again and just lower the opacity like I said I would do, all the way down to 0. Okay, now our next step is to animate it. Okay, first thing to do, I'm just gonna grab the section and go to the interactions panel while scrolling in view, like we've been doing for all of these so far. I'm gonna call this one location scrolling in view. Okay, I'm gonna grab the heading 1 because as you can see, let me just go back and demonstrate. It fades in and then it fades out again. So grab that at 0%. I want the opacity to be, maybe I won't make it fully transparent. Maybe I'll make it like 40%. 40, not 4. 50. 60 it is. Okay. I'm gonna make it 60%. I'm gonna change some of the settings around. I guess I don't like it as much now. And at 20%, at the keyframe 20%, I'm just gonna increase the opacity all the way to 100 so that it doesn't start off as fully, man, that's too little. I mean, too much. Okay, let's go see now. Yep, okay, looks about right. And then at 35%, I want it to go back to 0. When that goes back to 0, I want to grab the Lottie wrapper, and I just want it to move. So I want it to move 0 VW. This is starting animating, it's moving. And then at 45%, I'm going to grab this, the gauge, and I'm just gonna bring that in full opacity, right? And then at 55% is when we start moving things around. So then this is gonna have opacity of 100. Oh, that should have been 0 first. Messed up. Okay, we're gonna grab this location Lottie wrapper again, and I'm just gonna have it be moved to -18 VW. Yep. Okay, and then I'm gonna grab -19, sorry, not -10. And then I'm gonna grab the gauge, the actual Lottie in the gauge. So that's this one right here, the Lottie animation. Remember what I like to do, at least my personal preference, is to only grab the Lottie when I'm doing a specific Lottie animation. And if I'm doing anything else like opacity, moving, scaling, anything, I prefer to just grab the Lottie wrapper. So that's why before, when I was moving the other one, I was using the Lottie wrapper. But now that I have to kind of change, like use the scroll position to base how far the Lottie animation is in, I'm gonna use that. Okay. Again, at 55%, this Lottie is gonna be at 0. And then at 75%, it's gonna be, let's see, let's put it all the way to 100 and see what happens. So when you put it to 100, you see that it disappears. That's because these Lotties kind of disappeared at 100, so I'm just gonna put it at 99. Now I really want to get that part filled in, so I'm just gonna hit 99.99 again. There, now it's completely filled in. Okay, that's it for this Lottie. Let's go and test it out. So I'm gonna go back up here, hit the button, and let's test. Oh, we forgot one very important thing, and that is to keep, okay, so 2 things. Number 1, this is going away way too far, and so let's fix that. Okay. So first thing that we want is, let's just go back to this animation. Where is that? Okay. Maybe I will move it to -15 pixels instead. 15 VH, sorry. And now let's try and see. Okay, that's not going to be perfect, but I guess that's the best we can do now. -14. Let's see. Yep, I guess you can, if any of you guys have any idea on how I can kind of make sure that it's positioned exactly where it is, you know, kind of always be underneath it, please let me know in the comments down below. I would really appreciate it. That's one thing I just can't seem to figure out. Okay, but what I can do is go to this location lottie, and I kind of always want it to be playing, right? So here's how we're gonna do that. We just have to grab this lottie, and we're just gonna hit loop. And now if we click on it and see, it's just gonna keep going. So now if we click, and there we go. So let's go back and try this animation one more time. Okay, we're just gonna, yep, it keeps going, just like that. The gauge works. Okay, and that's it. Oh god, that filler, I totally forgot about it. But yeah, that's it for this section. Moving on. So our next section is going to be the lighting section. Let me just scroll in and show you guys. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's it for that section. So what I'm going to do is, first thing, again, drag in a div, call this lighting. It's going to have a width of 100%, obviously, and a height of 500 VH. Okay, some padding at the top, just like usual, 10 VH, same thing at the bottom. Okay, and then again I'm going to drag in that animation plant text from the intro, not the location, because we did change a couple of things there. So from the intro, and this animation plant text, and inside of this animation plant text I am going to drag in a div. I'm going to call this lighting gradient container, both a width and a height of 100%. It's going to be set to positioned absolute. Position absolute. And then inside of here, I'm going to grab one other div, and this is going to have also a position. I forgot, that's not the class. It's not, I don't want to give it a class of 100%. This is going to be called lighting gradient. And then I'm going to give it a width and a height of 100%. And this is also going to be set to position absolute, and it's going to have a linear gradient. So I'm going to go down here to background, gradient, that's this one right here, linear. I'm just going to paste in this color, and I want it to go all the way to black and then make it transparent. Just like that. Okay. This is going to have a combo class of top. Call this top. And then on this one, I'm just going to change the direction to be 90 degrees instead. Sorry, 180 degrees like it was before. I don't even know why I changed that, but yep, 100, not 90, 180 degrees. I'm going to make another one of these. And for the second one, I'm going to remove that top combo class, and instead I'm going to give it a combo class of right. Just going to change that to be 270 degrees. Okay, and then this last one, if I'm just able to. Yep, this is going to have a combo class of left, and it's going to just be 90 degrees angle. Okay. Now the first thing to do would be to give all of them an opacity of 0. So just gonna do that. Okay. Perfect. And then what I want to do, okay, that's about it for that. Okay, I'm gonna get out of this animation plant text. I'm gonna drag another div. This is going to be called lighting Lottie wrapper. Same principle as all the other ones. 40 VW, set position to be not fixed to be sticky, and 0. Oh, I forgot to set flex on lighting, so let me just go do that. Vertical, center aligned to the top. There. Okay, so lighting Lottie wrapper. Drag in. There we go. Inside of here, I am just going to drag outside of here, after this one. Drag another div. This div is going to be called lighting text with 2 X's for no reason. Okay. This is going to have a maximum width of 600 pixels. I'm just gonna give it a width of 100%, like that. Give it some margin at the bottom of 30 VH. It's gonna be set to position sticky, and then 30 VH at the top as well. This is where it stops. Then I'm just gonna drag in a heading. Make it heading 3 and just select that class, like that. And what does this say? I don't remember. Okay, this one right here. And I think there's another class that's called heading 3 span. Is that the color here? Yes, okay, that's fine, perfect. And then what I want to do is just drag in a paragraph element, which I believe we also have the class for, so paragraph big. Yep, just gonna grab that text. Like that. Grab this lighting text, and does this have margin at the left, right? We don't want that margin. Just gonna get rid of that. Maybe keep that margin at the top. Okay, that's good. Okay. That looks fine. Now let's just animate it. So the first thing, again, is to start an interaction. So while scrolling in view, I'm gonna call this one lighting scrolling in view. Okay. Then this one has a lot of steps to this animation. So first thing is I'm going to grab this heading and give it an opacity of 100%. And open this up, right? Make sure I find lighting gradient left. I believe it was top, left, and then right. So I think this is going to be the next one. I'm just going to give this one an opacity. No, that's right. Never mind. Just going to find it through here. Lighting gradient left is what I want. And I want this to have an opacity of 0. Grab both of these and set the keyframe to be 15. Okay. And then I'm going to grab this one here. And at 25%, I want this to have reduced to nothing. Grab that left again and just give it an opacity of 60%. Then at 40%, is not the same one. Okay, why is that not working? Okay, never mind then. We're just going to select this again and then give it an opacity of 60. There. Then we are going to grab the Lottie animation, and at 40% we are just going to move it 0 VW, so it's just starting this animation, and grabbing this lighting text, give this also an opacity of 0%. And actually, instead of selecting the lighting animation, I'm just gonna grab the wrapper and give that an what am I doing? And move that 0 VW, right? And then what I want to do is at 50%, I'm gonna grab this, the first one I believe is lighting gradient top. So at 50%, I want this lighting gradient top to start animating, so it's 0%, and then I'm gonna get the lighting gradient left to go down back to 0. So let's see what we have so far. Okay, well, most of this doesn't work yet, so let's get it to work. They're both lighting text, which they should be. Actually, never mind, that is right. But what I also need to do is grab this Lottie wrapper. God, I keep forgetting. Okay, just move this one also 0 VW. There. That's everything set up for 40 and for 50 as well. Okay, now for 65, we're gonna grab lighting gradient top, not left. Make sure you grab top. And I am going to give that an opacity of 100%. And this lighting gradient left is just going to remain there, never mind, so it's 65% like that. And then we're going to grab the Lottie, right? And I want the it to have moved negative 20 VW, like that. And then I want to grab the lighting text that we have here, give that an opacity of 100%, so it's finally animated in, and then also move it 20 VW to the right, like that. And then I'm gonna grab finally I believe our last lighting gradient, and at 70%, I'm just going to give that an opacity of 100, grab the lighting gradient top, which is this one here, give that an opacity of 0, and then at 80%, I will change it. I know it says 90, but at 80%, I'm just gonna grab that says left again. Oh my god, so lighting gradient right. And then at 80%, I want this to also have gone down all the way to 0. Okay, at 80, not 96. Let's play through and just see. So let's see. Oh, we should have changed the text. Okay, so there's mistake number 1. And we cannot test that test because the lighting gradient is on top of it. So let's grab heading 1, and I'm just going to set the position to be relative and give it a z-index of 1000 once again. Okay, now this is going to have text of oh, I don't think this is a heading 1. Okay, let's remove that class. This is a heading 3. Yes, this should say, if I could grab it, which I can't because I forgot to give it a z-index again, so 3000, 1000, you could put 3000 if you want. Okay, it should say let's not forget about the lighting, and then it should be, I believe, center aligned, but not all of them are center aligned. So I'm just gonna grab heading 3, call this lighting heading, and set it to be center aligned. And then I'm gonna grab lighting, if I can do that. Span element, this is gonna be called heading 3 span, and it's also going to be lighting heading, and italicized. Okay, now if we grab it and preview, okay. Okay, so first things first, that is not, so heading 3, it should say now. Heading 3, now that should work, okay. So it fades out, this comes in, it gets moved, and it comes out like this, okay. Perfect. I think that's good. One thing that's not happening is that this Lottie is not being animated, so let's see if we can do that. So I'm gonna grab this Lottie animation, and let's see. So it starts animating when this gradient comes in, right? And then it stops. Okay, so that's it. So it just has to, so right here is when we're gonna grab Lottie Wrapper, so at 50%, and it's gonna go from 0 all the way to 99. And this should all be at 70, not 69, although I don't think it matters that much, but let's try it now. Yep, okay. We should grab this text and lower the opacity. So lighting text, gone. Okay. Now let's see, even though we just did. Again, I have no idea why these are so big. Okay. Heading 3. Okay, now let's see. And again, what is, did these just grow? Okay, 2, right. .7 will make them. And now let's see. Okay, that looks way better. Okay, so that is it for the lighting section. Next up, we have this section where when you kind of scroll in this image, it gets bigger, right? Some text appears and this kind of misty div, and then some more text, and then it scales back down, and then you're met with the next section. So I'm just gonna close all these other ones and drag in another div. I'm gonna call this water. Set the flex to be vertical, center aligned as always, width of 100%, height of a 500 VH. Going to grab that animation text wrapper. Gonna grab another div, place it inside, call this water text wrapper. If I could spell today, type today, okay. It's going to be set to, again, a width of 100%, a height of 100 VH, have a position of sticky, 0, and it's going to be set to flex vertical center aligned. Okay. Inside of here, there's going to be another div, and this div is going to be called water text. This one's just going to be set to 100 and 100. Flex on this one as well, vertical and then center aligned, but then justify and then space between. Now inside of here, I'm going to drag in another heading actually. It's going to be a heading 3. Yep. What does this say? Water sparingly mist. often. Is it I think it's a heading 1. Never mind, I take that back. Heading 1. It seems big. Is it that big? Fine, whatever. Water sparingly. And just gonna duplicate that. The second one's gonna say mist often. Now what we're gonna do is, because the height already takes up 100%, we're just gonna hit position absolute on both of them. And this water text wrapper already has a position of sticky, so that works out fine. Oh, okay. It should say, yeah, there, that's fine. Okay, so mist often, water sparingly, that's fine. Okay, so we're gonna close that out. And we're gonna drag in another div. Inside of here, we're gonna call this water rotate, or actually forget the div, we're just going to drag in the image because we don't really need the div. So if I could just delete that there, grab that image, call it water rotating image, height of 30 VH, and a position of absolute. Okay. Also, what else am I forgetting? Oh, our second water text, the one that has mist often on it, is gonna have an opacity of 0. Yep, that's it. Okay. Then what we also need is our mist. So gonna grab this, gonna call it water mist div. It's gonna have a width and a height of 100%, position of absolute, and set the z index to be really high, something like 3000, and it's going to have a background image of mist 1. Just going to hit cover and then center, like that. And now I'm going to duplicate this, call this mist div 2, just replace that first image with the second one, doing the same effect, covering. Okay, both of these are going to have an opacity of 0. Now onto the actual animation. So I'm going to grab this water div, start interaction while scrolling in view. Okay, I'm going to call this animation water scrolling in view. Grab the water rotating image, hit size, and at 0% I want to have a width of auto and a height of 0 VH. And then at 100%, or actually 20%, at 20% I want it to have a width of auto again, and then a height of 100 VH. Okay, that is definitely not what we want. Let me just go back to the styles of the rotating image, see what's wrong. Oh, I see. Okay, so I'm going to take out the width, and I want to give that to the height, actually. There, that should work. Let's see. There we go. Okay, that's right. Then what I want to do is I'm going to grab this first rotate, this mist div, and at 30% I'm going to give it, start animating it, so an opacity of 0, and at 55% I want it to have finally reached where it is now. And then what I want to do is go back to 45% and grab the second water mist div, and at 45% I want this to have an opacity of 0, and then I'm going to grab this first instance of the water text, start animating this out as well. Just gonna make sure I hit selected element for this one because there's two of the same class, right? And then when we hit 55%, I'm gonna grab this first water text, make sure the opacity for that one is all the way down at 0. Oh, for this one I should have set it to 100. Sorry, like that. Why is that not working? Okay. And then we are going to grab the second water text, give this okay, so let's see. This is water text 2, which will fully animate in at 60%. This is going to have an opacity of 100 here, and so will this mist div 2. I'm going to give it 80%. Let's see now. Okay, that looks very weird. Okay, let's go figure what's going on here. So I'm going to go to water text, give it the index of 3000 as well, because we want it to appear over the mist div. So maybe we'll give it 3500. And then what I also want to do is make sure that the second one does have it. Let's see. What is going on? Okay. It should not be visible, the second one. Let's go back and mess with some of our settings here. Okay. Let's see now. Water text. Okay, so this should only affect, okay, I'm gonna hit affect selected element. Let's see if that works. No, it does not. The second water text. Oh, okay, how about that? Okay, so I'm gonna move the second water text and have it start animating at 60%. And remove that, so get rid of that. So this should start animating there. And then at 75%, maybe at 70%, I'm gonna have this have a full opacity. But at 55% is when this should really, okay then, let's see. I don't know why that's not working. Right, but okay, so far everything else is working except for this text. Let's see, what's wrong with it? Go back to the style panel. Maybe don't give it a width. Okay. Maybe that'll fix it. No. Okay, let's see. What could be happening here? Let's go down, look there. Did I give this a div? No. Okay. Let's go back again and try to animate this again. Okay, so water text, the first one, we are going to maybe at 30%. I will have this be like this, and then at 55 I want it to be all the way down to 0, and I'm going to hit selected element. Okay, now let's see. Okay, that works perfectly. That's exactly what I want. Then, yep, that's about it. That's pretty much what I wanted to happen. Now all I want to do is just have this water rotating image kind of shrink back down. So we're going to go back to size. We're going to hit auto, and then I will make it 50 VH. So let's see. Okay, well, we don't want that to happen. We don't want it to continue shrinking. So maybe what I'll do is I'll hit 100 VH here, and then at 85%, I'm going to have it shrink back down to 50. Let's see if that works. Okay, that's better. By 70%, I also want both of these water mist divs to have gone away. So I'm going to grab the first water mist div as well as the second one, make sure it has an opacity of 0. And then also this text will be faded out like that. So start at the front, see what's going on. Okay, perfect. It fades out, mist div comes in, and then it fades back out. Okay, perfect. So that is the water animation. We only have one section left, and that is the overview. So next up we have, if I just keep scrolling, this section where as you hover over these items, you see this nice interaction. Yeah, let's just get right into it. I am first going to drag a div in, as always. Call this plant overview. Don't really need to type in plant. A width of 100%. Give it some margin or actually some padding at the top of 150 VH. A lot of padding. And some padding at the bottom of 10 VH. It's going to have a background color of the same background color as the body, actually, but I'll explain why we need to give this a background color as well in just a second when we get to the animation part. Yep, okay, so now I'm just gonna set it to be flex, not grid. Flex, vertical, center aligned. Get rid of that gap, didn't mean to do that. Okay, there. I'm gonna drag in a div, call this plant item, just item is fine because we're not gonna reuse it, but okay, so 100%. It's gonna be set to flex, horizontal, aligned to the top, and justified with space between. It's gonna have some padding of 2 VW at the top and at the bottom, and a max width of 1240 pixels. First thing to do is grab another div, place it right in here. This is gonna be called item left. It's also going to be set to horizontal and space between, just center line like that. It's going to have a div, which is going to be called plant, or just item image. And I'm going to give it an image of this one right here. I'm going to hit cover and center it like that. Give it a border radius of 50%, so it's always a perfect circle. It's going to get a width of 8 VW and a height of 8 VW. And some margin at the right of 2 VW. Okay, that's the image. Next, we are going to grab another div, call it item title wrapper. And now you might be asking, why do we need a wrapper for if it's just text? Well, if you notice in our hover animation, it's giving the effect that it's just being rotated like a slot machine, but we have two pieces of text that are, so one piece is being moved up while the other piece moves up to fill up the space that the other one left. So we need a wrapper just to contain both of those in the same place. This is going to have a height of 3 VW, and the overflow will be hidden just so that we don't see that second piece of text. Okay, grab a heading, call it, actually, heading 4 is the type that we're going for. Call it item title. It's going to be 3 VW and the height of 3 VW as well. And there's going to be no margin at the top and none really at the bottom either. No, we'll keep that margin at the bottom, actually. Yeah, keep that margin at the bottom. And okay, now I'm just going to duplicate this one more time. I should probably change some of the text there. Change that, make it XO and a little bit lighter. So like that. And just duplicate it. And you can't really see the second one, but it is there because, again, we set overflow to be hidden. Okay, now let's get started on our animation. Actually, I should duplicate this a couple times. It's only there once. I feel like I'm forgetting something. What am I forgetting? Oh, of course, this other part of the... Okay, this, the other part of this item, which is this at the right. So I'm going to drag in a paragraph element. I believe this has the same class as paragraph small. Yep, I'm just going to give it a combo class, call it item para, and just change the text color a little bit. No, actually, never mind, it is white. And okay, just like that. Okay, now I am going to Swiss cheese plant. Should have probably given both of these the same name. Let me delete it and just copy again. Okay. Good. Now I'm just going to copy this item a couple of times. Maybe actually give this a lighter, like that, okay? Give it some border at the bottom, which I believe it does have. It does. There's going to be this kind of dark green border. So border, bottom, 1 pixels of this dark green. Let me just grab, yep, that's the dark green. Okay, and now let's get started on our animation. The first thing I'm going to do is that kind of fade into this dark green color. So I'm going to grab that and do while scrolling in view, make another one that's going to be called overview scrolling in view, and just change the background color to go from this to this color. And let me just test out, when are we able to... Okay, so at about 30% is when I wanted to start animating, and I wanted to stop at about 50. Let's see. Okay, perfect, that works well. I'm gonna get rid of this filler because we don't really need it anymore. Now let's do our actual hover animation. So I'm gonna grab the item, hit mouse hover, We call this item hover in. And when it hovers in, I want to get the plant item title, right? And I'm gonna click move, right? And I want it to move on the y-axis, 3.3 VW. So it's just moving up the entire text, because remember, we set the height of this text to be 3 VW, and so is the height of this wrapper, right? That's how we're able to calculate this so precisely. So that, and then what we want to do is, if you notice, when I hover, when I hover over this, everything else, the opacity goes down, right? So how we do that is I'm going to grab this item, right? And I'm going to hit opacity, and I'm going to make the opacity be maybe like 40%, and hit, what I want to hit is I want to hit class, okay? And then I want to hit only siblings with this class. So it's going to give everything an opacity of 40% except for the actual item itself. And then what I want to do is grab this item image and scale it up. So scale to 1.3. Now I'm going to just select all of these, give it a duration of 0.2, and I'm going to hit in quart. Okay, maybe make it a little bit longer, so 0.4. Okay, that looks nice. Good. Now, we just want to make a hover out animation. So I'm going to call this item hover out. And in that case, what I want to do is I just want to move this back down to 0 VW, right? And then I want to grab the entire plant item, give it an opacity of 100, and then the image, and just hit scale 1, and that's it. So just gonna grab all of these, 0.4, 0.4, and instead of in quart, I'm just gonna hit out quart. Okay, we can't see anything, but we will when we test it out. So get in here, right? That's not working. Oh, it's because I didn't. Okay, so there's a couple things that are not working now. So let's go fix them. First, I'm gonna add the interaction to all of these elements, really. Let me just delete them and then just copy this one over a couple times. Now let's see. Okay, why is that happening? Okay, let's go and look at what we're saying. Okay, so effect class is what it should be saying. Yeah, now let's see. Now if we hover out, okay, this is right. Probably. Okay, so it's not doing the text animation, which is concerning. Let's go back to that hover in and see what's happening. Oh, okay, so on hover out, grab that and hit 3.3 VW. Is that gonna work? Let's see. Oh, that makes perfect sense. Okay, okay, I see what happened. Let's go back to item hover out. It's because, well, I've set the move to be on the x-axis when it should be on the y. Okay, now let's see. Silly mistake. There we go. Okay, now it's working fine. Okay. Okay. That was a silly mistake. Okay. So that was it for this entire I Killed a Cactus website rebuild. Now, as you guys know, I did not make this design myself. I did not. I found this website on the awards awards website, and I was looking through a couple and I found this and I thought it was really cool. So again, I want to thank the original designer of this website and the people who I got inspiration from to build this in Webflow. Again, very thankful to them. And I'm going to link their awards page in the description. So check them out, check the designers out, and yeah. That's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end. I really appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, and go follow me on Instagram. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.